morning and happy Tuesday, Connection People and Spirit and Truth Sanctuary. If anybody was watching on Sunday, I just want to give you a little update. I do have the appropriate earrings on today. They match. On Sunday, I realized when I looked in the mirror right before going on stage that I had two completely different earrings on, which is a sign of my age, I suppose. But I have rectified the situation today. So let's go straight into our morning blessing. Spirit of Truth, we thank you for this new day in which we are filled with gratitude. We are grateful for another day to live out our lives in freedom, in happiness, and in joy. We give thanks to you for both the tangible and intangible daily bread that you provide for us. We live and move and have our being in the perfect unconditional love that lives in our heart. We are grateful now for that which we have already received and are grateful in advance for more than we can ask or think coming into our lives on a daily basis. We commit ourselves today and every day this year to get happy, stay happy, and be happy and see what happens. In the name and nature of the Christ, amen, and so it is. Okay, on to our quotes. The first one, a person can grow only as much as his horizon allows. John Powell. The next one is actually an affirmation. It's called an affirmation for letting go. Today I embrace the memory of my past and feel grateful for all that life has given me. I acknowledge that I did the best I could at the time, and now I am ready to let it go. I clear my future road ahead for miracles and happy surprises. Okay, you know how for the last 2 weeks I've mentioned that little talk by Amanda Ellis about being in the miracle zone and how you have to turn your dial up to a higher frequency in order for miracles to occur. So that's what saying this affirmation helps you to do, because you can before you can turn the dial up to a higher frequency, you've got to clear out those lower frequencies, which is one of the things we're going to talk about today. Okay, next. The soul always knows what to do to heal itself. The challenge is to silence the mind. Carolyn Mace. And lastly, from Esther Hicks, you are an extension of source energy. And when you allow that pure source energy to flow through you, you are so bright and beautiful. Your timing is good and you feel vital and alive in your body. And as others see you, they wonder what your magic is. But it only seems like magic because it is experienced by so few. It isn't magic. It is available to everyone. But to experience it, you must allow your alignment. Or another way I want to say that today, because it goes with our teaching, is you must find your fit. Okay, so the title of my teaching today was inspired by an old 70s song, surprise, surprise, by a group called the Brothers Johnson, whose most famous song was Strawberry Letter 23, which has always mystified me. I'm going to use that word a lot today, mystified, because they don't ever say Strawberry Letter 23 in the song. They say Strawberry Letter 22. So anyway, I digress. It's not that song. The song I'm talking about is one of their songs called Stomp, not to be confused with The Devil Stomp. That's also another song entirely. But the song I'm talking about, it describes, as best as I can tell, some dance moves. And there's a particular line that says, put your foot where you feel the fit. Okay, that's a little refrain they do at the end. Put your foot where you feel the fit. So that's my title today. Just so you'll know, the overarching subject is going to be meditation, which we will get to eventually. But my title is Put Your Foot Where You Feel the Fit, because meditation is not a one-size-fits-all practice. There are many different types of meditation, a few of which, certainly not all, we'll talk about today. And I know we've talked about meditation and its importance many times, but I feel like I want to revisit it, to go over it again, because number one, I think the entire concept is still very misunderstood by a lot of people. I think it seems much more complicated and intimidating than it actually is. And number two, it's one of those things that everybody knows is good for them, just like eating healthy or exercising, but they find it hard to actually put into practice. It's like, when you go to the dentist and they ask you, have you been flossing? And you say, yes, but oh, I don't floss. And it's like, do you meditate? Yeah, yes, no. So hopefully today I can demystify it if it is still mystifying to you, and perhaps give you some practical tips, beginning with this one. The best way to begin a regular meditation practice is to just start. It's like someone asked a famous novelist one time, I think it was Ernest Hemingway, they said, how do you write a novel? And he says, just sit down and start typing. So just like a lot of other things that are new to you, you might go into it feeling lost, a little lost, or like like you're not doing it right. And that's normal. No one, or hardly anyone, does anything perfectly the first time they do it, or even the first few times that they try it. But with persistence, it will pay off. I promise you that. So the way my title fits into this subject is that, as I said, meditation is not a one-size-fits-all proposition. If you're going to establish a regular practice, it's important that you find a method or a combination of a few methods that you feel fits your personality and your lifestyle and your particular needs at the time. Because if you don't, you're not going to be able to keep it up, at least not without a whole lot of effort and forcing yourself, which only creates stress, which negates the whole purpose of why you're trying to meditate in the first place, to reduce your stress. So in other words, if you're stressed about the fact that you're not meditating or that you're not doing it right or whatever, you might as well just not make the attempt, because if it's adding more stress to your life, it's counterproductive. Just like when you are dancing, your meditation has to be fluid. You have to find the flow to it. You have to put your foot where you feel the fit, because when you are dancing, if you put your foot somewhere where you don't feel the fit, you are going to end up looking like Elaine from Seinfeld. If you're too young for that reference, Google it or look it up on YouTube. Elaine had a very distinct way of dancing that would definitely not be described as fluid. It was very jerky and mechanical. She was most assuredly not in flow state when she danced. All right, so one of the first things I want to talk about concerning meditation is that it is important that you approach it from the right mindset. Again, for whatever reason, there's a lot of mystery and even anxiety, unfortunately, that's been built up around this topic of meditation, and it's been portrayed to be something that it's not. When most people think about meditation, they envision sitting cross-legged or even in lotus position, which is really difficult for a lot of people to achieve, on a cushion, totally quiet, no thoughts in your mind for an hour or more, in order for it to be effective, for you to get anything out of it. And that's just false. There are many types of meditation that are based on complete silence and stillness. And there are people who indeed do practice for hours at a time, but that is definitely not the standard that should be set. And it's also not the only way that meditation can be effective. So how you approach it mentally is very important. I was talking with a friend of mine the other day, and we got on a particular subject, and she made the statement, I know I should, but, and she wasn't talking particularly about meditation, but the way she said it and the look on her face and the feeling that came with it kind of sparked a thought in me. And so many of us live so much of our lives in that posture of, I know I should, but, and then come all the reasons why we don't want to, or we're afraid to, or we don't have time to. And I found myself thinking later, if you're living most of your life doing things from that standpoint, from the level of consciousness of, I should, but I really don't want to, that's not a very enjoyable way to live. But that's how so many of us approach things like meditation or yoga or any spiritual practice, really. We're only doing it because we think we should and not because we enjoy it. And if that's where you are with it, let me relieve your mind. Just don't don't do it. You don't have to, because it's not going to be helpful to you if that's the way you're approaching it. In that same conversation with the same friend, we talked about yoga, and I told her, like I have told many other people, one of the main reasons I do yoga is because I've noticed the positive results of it in my life. I used to wake up 5 out of 7 mornings with my lower back really hurting, and I found that when I do yoga regularly, not every day, and side note here, when I don't do it, when I can't get to it, I don't beat myself up about it. I just say, tomorrow's another day. I'll get back on the horse tomorrow. But I find that when I do it at least 3 times a week, I don't have as much or really any back pain. So once I realized that, once I saw the fruit that it was bearing in my life, it was no longer a struggle to find the time to do it, because the benefit for me far outweighed any inconvenience. So we're back to that all-important question that we should ask ourselves about a lot of things in our life. Is it working for me? Okay, if it's not, drop it. But so in the beginning, before that practice was bearing visible fruit in my life, it did require a little bit of discipline. I had to set the alarm on my phone and just decide I was going to do it. No excuses. But that phase didn't last very long before I saw it bearing fruit. So did I and do I still ignore that alarm sometimes? Yes, I do. But again, when it happens, I don't beat myself up about it or feel like I failed. I just, again, I say tomorrow is another day. We'll start again then. But as my back started to feel better and better, it was easier and easier for me to make the time to do it. So, and I've also found that about meditation. I've not gotten to that place in meditation as quickly as I did with yoga, but I think I've gotten there. Another key, however, was finding the flow, as we talked about earlier. So just like meditation, there are lots and lots of different kinds of yoga. And I had to keep experimenting until I found the one where my foot felt the fit, to go back to our song. And I had to figure out what time of day was best for me. It should probably come as no surprise to anyone who knows me. I don't do it first thing in the morning. There are very few things I do first thing in the morning. I do my yoga late in the afternoon, about 5:30, right before my husband gets home from work and before dinner and the evening's activities start. That's what works best for me, but I had to figure that out. You have to keep trying sometimes. Sometimes when you try something and it doesn't work in a certain way, you just give it up altogether rather than say, well, let me just tweak it or change this one little thing about it. I also had to figure out my length of time. A lot of yoga classes that you would go to at a yoga studio or at a gym last an hour, and I've done those before, but I have found that about 15 to 17 minutes is what works best for me. And fortunately, I have found a series that all their sessions are about 15 to 7 minutes. But if I do one that's longer, my body is kind of used to it, and so at that 15-minute mark, I kind of feel, okay, I'm done, and I stop, and I don't feel guilty that I didn't finish. I got what I needed, so I quit. It's spiritual practices are not a competition. And I think too often, because so much of the rest of our lives are a competition, we bring that into our spiritual practice sometimes. We let it creep in, but that's not helpful. You can't approach any spiritual practice as if it's a competition or something to be conquered. That's not how it works. When you were a kid, did you ever go on a trip that your parents might have planned, like to an amusement park or whatever, and when you got there, everybody was angry, you were fighting with your sibling or something didn't work out, and it's like your parents say, their attitude is, they've paid a lot of money for this, they've taken this, have fun, damn it. It's like if my brother can say it on Sunday, I can say it. So, but it's like, but that's not really how fun works. It's like that. Fun has to flow. And that's the same with meditation or any other. It has to flow. You can't, go into it with this, I'm going to meditate. I'm going to reduce my stress. So, all right. So, if you want to establish a meaningful, effective, consistent practice, it is important that you approach it lightly and don't be at war with it. Don't look at it as something you've got to tackle. There is no joy in that. And among other things, any spiritual practice you engage in should bring you joy and should be something you enjoy. I said in my introduction today we were going to talk about raising our frequency, and that in order to do that, it's necessary sometimes to clear out the lower frequencies so that we can dial it up, dial our inner, whatever we want to call it, frequency up to the miracle zone, as Amanda talked about. So we're going to talk about that next. I'm going to read you some information from a Native American spiritual teacher. His name is Sun Bear. And this is from a book he wrote called Walking in Balance. And I've shared some of this with you before, but it's excellent information about the prevention aspect of having a regular spiritual practice that helps you clear out those lower energies and keep your channel clean and open, like we've talked about before. He's talking here about creating what he calls a lifelong plan of action to support and promote your spiritual, physical, emotional, and mental well-being. And just a side note here, he begins talking about physical illness, and physical healing, I think, is included in what we've been calling this miracle zone. Whether it's physical healing or emotional healing, you have to get yourself into the receptive mode in order to receive your healing, the miracle that is healing. So he says 90% of all illness begins in the head. You must get rid of the mind creatures which predispose you to illness. Then, by learning what is good for you, opening up to the universe, and finding ways to be happier, you can begin working toward a longer and more fulfilling life. For your work to be successful, you need the proper tools. Acceptance of the life force in all its forms, good diet, and revitalizing exercise will all help you plan your own healthful path to power. So I would consider meditation one of those tools that is preventive in keeping you healthy. Ingrained negative thought patterns, many of them left over from our childhood, help create illness if we hold on to them. Consequently, prevention is an important thing for you to understand. You can experience life as a beautiful dance if you learn to become a spiritual warrior, a person capable of defending your own destiny. Defending your own destiny, or another phrase for that we call it around here, creating your own reality, is your God-given right and your responsibility. In order to be a spiritual warrior, you must begin by cleaning up your own act, ridding yourself of the things that cause you pain and frustration. Now, time out for a second. A lot of us were taught that waging spiritual warfare was all about fighting the devil and evil. But now we realize that that's not what it's about at all. The real spiritual battle is, and the job of a spiritual warrior is the struggle each of us has within ourselves to consistently choose our higher nature as opposed to our lower nature. So back to Sun Bear. He says it's our responsibility as a spiritual warrior, in that context I just said, to rid ourselves of the things that cause us pain and frustration. He continues, you need either to digest or disgorge the things that are eating at you, no matter how long they've been doing so. Preventive care on all levels of being is mandatory to well-being. Okay, let's stop again for a second and not pass too quickly over what he just said there. He's talking about the negative emotions, the lower frequency energies that we allow to build up inside us. And he compares it to if you've gotten something negative or harmful into your physical body. In order for whatever it is not to become a blockage or to continue poisoning your system, you have to get it out. You either have to disgorge it, which is just a prettier and more polite way of saying throw it up or vomit it out, or you must digest it, which entails whatever it is going all the way through your system and eventually coming out the other end. Now, I find this very symbolic. Some negative emotions are so toxic and so harmful to us that we need to disgorge them or just throw them back up immediately. Don't even indulge them. But there are other negative emotions or experiences we can actually learn from. We can sit with them for a little bit and let them work their way through our system, where whatever lessons we need to learn from them. Whatever good can be obtained from them can be absorbed, and then the rest is just discarded as waste material. I know that's kind of a gross analogy, but it's accurate. And what we've got to do is be able to tell the difference between those emotions that if we allow them to stay inside us for any length of time or we dwell on will be deadly, and which ones we can actually learn from. With these, we can learn to wade through what isn't useful and eventually get rid of that while holding on to what is valuable, the lesson that we learned from it. But in both those cases, eventually, we must rid ourselves of any negative emotion that we can't turn into something or transmute into something positive. And this is one of the things that a meditation practice helps us to do. It does two things. It actually helps us decide which of those emotions that we need to let go of immediately and which that we can let work through. And then the ones that we need to work through, meditation can help us actually work through those emotions. That's what it means to sit with it. So, back to Sun Bear. There is truth to the adage, it's not what you eat, but what eats you. It is the deep down, gut level things that make you feel unhappy, that give you a sense of anger, turmoil, sadness, helplessness, or frustration in your life that can eventually give you problems. These emotions literally take power over you. I call these patterns mind creatures. Don't despair. Everybody has mind creatures, and there are viable tools to help free you from these negative chains of thought and emotion. It is your choice whether or not to utilize these tools. Only you can take charge of your life and integrate new information and habits that can break these chains. This can be a painful process, but with perseverance, joy can follow. When choosing your spiritual warrior path, your first consideration must be to find a plan that works for you, your needs and life patterns. Thus, my title, Put Your Foot Where You Feel the Fit. My brother just walked in. I'll let you know my title is from an old 70s song by the Brothers Johnson, that song called Stomp. And there's a line in it that says, put your foot where you feel the fit. So that's my title today. We're learning to put our foot where we feel the fit. So through this process of choice, a plan can be conceived and created by you that will benefit you for the rest of your life. Since many tools are available, it's okay to try different methods until you find the health-building tools that are most appropriate and effective for you. So obviously, one of the tools that's available to us is meditation. But as he said here, it's so important that you find the method that's right for you, because if it doesn't fit, it's not going to last. And what he is promoting here is a lifelong practice. He said that it's your choice whether or not to utilize the tools, and only you can determine which ones work for you. So in that same vein, I want to read to you now a piece by Andrew Martin called Other People's Keys that further explains this concept. And then we'll wrap it up by getting into the descriptions of several different forms of meditation. So Andrew Martin says, yours are the only keys that will open your doors. Certainly, there are those who can model for you how they found their keys. They can show you where they discovered them, and they can even help walk you through your process. However, none of their keys will open your doors. Attempting to use another's keys is like going to the grocery store with your neighbor's grocery list. The experiences others have is only an example to you of what is possible. Your keys are specially designed to unlock your own lived experiences. Here are some examples. Now, these examples that he gives here are not specifically about meditation, but they show how unique we are, and that how even people with very similar issues might need very different solutions. Okay, so he says, imagine a naturally artistic child growing up in an environment where their creative expression, their voice, is suppressed and rejected. This child has a vast universe within them waiting to be shared. They have an innate desire to liberate all that is within them, longing to be created, yet their immediate environment and the people that inhabit it continue to reiterate that children should be seen and not heard. They believe that creativity is a fool's errand and that the child should stop being so silly and get real. This child grows up continuing to exist, excluding their artistic passions, finding other acceptable ways to make their way through the world. The desire to express themselves artistically never goes away. It is merely stuffed, numbed, and ignored. This creates incredible tension within them, and their disconnection, pain, and suffering continues to grow. The child becomes an adult who is increasingly shut off and shut down. They begin to question all of their innate impulses, creating deep insecurity simply because they have learned to elevate the voices and opinions of others above their own. They effectively spend their whole life trying desperately to kill the passions they were born with, never realizing that the cause of their pain and suffering is born from trying to use another's set of keys to open their doors. For them, their creative self-expression is a key to their success and even to their well-being. They eventually must realize, contrary to what the authority figures in their lives tried to program them to believe, it is not their self-expression that will destroy them. What will destroy them is trying to live the truth of another. Okay? Here's another hypothetical scenario. Another artistic child, instead of being shut down, is allowed to express themselves. Their talents and abilities are nurtured and allowed to flourish. Joy erupts from them whenever they express themselves. They are told over and over again how amazing they are. They light up whenever they are on stage and are rewarded time and again with praise and compliments from others. At some point, though, they become increasingly dependent upon having an enthusiastic audience in front of them in order to feel validated and seen. They are brought up in an environment that places high value on being appreciated externally. In truth, their creative gifts aren't valued as much as the payoff that they and those around them receive from the use of those gifts. Eventually, this child conflates and equates internal expression with external validation. If nobody is in the room excitedly praising them for their performance, do they exist? If what they create is not validated by another, does it still hold value? Rather than being encouraged to find their own source of fulfillment and satisfaction, they spend their life desperately searching for an audience to confirm for them that they are worthy. What was once simply a joyful act becomes corrupted. Now the act of creating for the sake of creating becomes transactional. They slowly begin to create a reality where unless they are praised and applauded externally for their work, they themselves feel worthless. In this scenario, their key to success and well-being is knowing that they are worthy simply because they exist, and that the most important acceptance is self-acceptance, which will lead to the truth that the only judgment of the worth of their creations that matters is their own. Okay, both of these examples show that nobody but you can ever decide what is the key to your life experience. So basically, your own life experience will dictate what kind of spiritual practice will be the key to your connection with spirit. And it's not going to be the same even with people who are really similar to you or who have similar gifts and talents. It's even that. It's not the same for everybody. These two kids were both very artistically inclined, but because they had different experiences, they needed a different key to unlock that past whatever they needed to get rid of from their childhood. Okay, so then he leads a very short meditation to show how simple it can be to start figuring this out. But the key to both of these people figuring out their childhood issues is meditation, getting in touch with their true self. He begins, please close your eyes and begin to breathe slowly and deeply. Settle in and allow yourself to find a place of connection. Only a few moments of focused breathing are required to bring you into resonance with your higher self or your inner self, if you prefer to call it that. When you are ready, simply move all of your awareness to your heart and state, "Heart, please reveal to me a key to my life experience. I am ready to unlock the deepest desires of my heart and soul. I ask that this insight and information be revealed to me in the most graceful way possible." And so it is. Thank you. Stay here as long as you need. You might receive immediate insight or you might not. It might arrive as a fully fleshed out message, or it may just be a glimpse of some future desired outcome. It might be a feeling or an image or just one word. It might feel like nothing at all. Just trust that you have gotten what you need for the moment and that the rest will be revealed in the right way at the right time. So this brought to my mind a quote that I read by a woman named Shawn Korn. She is a yoga instructor, and as we'll see in a bit, yoga is actually also a form of meditation. So here, Andrew Martin is saying, look, it doesn't have to be a long, drawn-out, big deal of a process. Just simply quieting your mind for a few moments and asking your heart, your higher self, to show you what you need is all that meditation really is. The key to effective meditation, in my opinion, is surrender. It's almost like an offering that you give God. It's almost like, okay, God, here's my mind. I'm going to take my control away from it and let you have it for however long and show me what I need to see. So Shawn Korn says, Ishvara Pranadhana, which is a yogic principle, means to dedicate yourself and surrender to what yoga calls the all-pervading consciousness or divine essence. Then she goes on to say, surrender doesn't mean giving up or feeling defeated. It means giving yourself over to a higher purpose, seeing the bigger picture and getting out of the way for your soul to evolve. Again, just saying, God, I'm going to take myself out of the way for a few minutes and let you, Source, my higher self, take over. It requires that you surrender to the mystery and trust that the universe will present you what you need when you need it. So that's what meditation helps you do. That's the place it helps you to reach, where you trust the universe to provide you with whatever information you need at the moment you need it. But in order for it to really work for you, you can't use someone else's keys because they won't open your doors. You have to find the method that fits you. So without further ado, let's look at some of them. This is from, it didn't have a person's name associated with it, or I would give them credit. It was just from a YouTube channel called Improvement Pill. So this is called 7 Different Types of Meditation. Which one is right for you? He says, meditation can be one of the most challenging habits to build because we often try to force ourselves to stick to a certain form of meditation that may not suit us. When this happens, we naturally meet it with a lot of resistance, which makes any attempt to meditate feel like a waste of time. In order to build a successful meditation practice, you need to find the one that fits you best. And then he goes through the 7 different types, which, as I said earlier, is by no means an exhaustive list, but it's a good start. And the ones he mentions here covers a pretty broad spectrum, so I'll share them with you now. Here we go. Number 1, mindfulness breathing. This is meditation that focuses on the sensation of breathing, the actual air going in and out of your nose or mouth. Whenever a thought appears, you simply notice it, let it float away, and bring your attention back to your breathing. Now, this is the one that actually is the closest to what I think most people think of when they hear the word meditation, because it is an attempt to clear your mind as much as possible of all thoughts. It says each time a thought comes into your mind, you're supposed to let it float away and then bring your focus back to your breathing. Supposedly, the longer you do this, the less and less that the thoughts will come up. This is the kind of meditation that my husband practices, and it works for him. Me, not so much. But that's the whole point of this teaching. You got to find the one that works for you. Okay, continuing on with his description of mindfulness breathing. The key to this meditation is the noticing of the thoughts, which is why it's called mindfulness. You are practicing your ability to observe your thoughts without judgment. Okay, so now we're getting into a little Eckhart Tolle territory. Be able to observe your thoughts without judging them. Almost all forms of meditation share some of the same benefits, such as stress reduction, self-control, and focus. Mindful awareness meditation has specifically been known to improve levels of creativity, allowing you to come up with various solutions to individual issues or problems. It also trains your mind to let go of the thoughts, particularly negative thoughts, which prevents overthinking and the negative side effects that accompany it. In my experience, I have learned over time that this form of meditation is not for everyone. It can be a difficult one to start with, but is very effective if you really want to train your mind to let go of negative thoughts. So that's number one. Type number two, metta. That's spelled M-E-T-A, metta meditation. Another name for this type of meditation is loving kindness meditation. The goal of this type is to send love out, first to yourself by repeating a predetermined phrase such as, may I be happy, or may I be healthy, may I be free from suffering, or may I experience clarity. Then you repeat the same phrase, replacing the I with the name of a friend or a loved one, while visualizing yourself sending them the love or the health or the freedom or the clarity. Next, you visualize sending the content of the statement to a stranger, to someone you don't know. Then to someone you dislike or someone who has hurt or wronged you. And finally, to everyone and to the universe as a whole. Loving kindness meditation increases your empathy and has also been shown to reduce pain and to help with PTSD. Research also suggests this type of meditation increases the amount of gray matter in your brain that is associated with your emotional intelligence. Metta meditation is good for people who feel they need to deal with emotions of hatred or anger, whether towards themselves or others, because with this form of meditation, you are basically training yourself to be more loving. It is noted for bringing more happiness into your life and is a good form for dealing with past trauma. So that's type number two. Type number three, guided meditation. This is any form of meditation where a narrator is guiding you through the process. You simply follow their verbal instructions. This is probably the easiest form of meditation, but listening to someone else may also prevent you from going deep enough to realize many of the benefits that other forms of meditation provide. It is, however, a wonderful stress reducer and a relaxation tool. Guided meditation is something you should consider if you have tried other forms of meditation but felt as if they were too difficult. There is no harm in putting on some training wheels and getting used to just sitting still for an extended period of time before moving on to more advanced forms of meditation. So that's number three, guided meditation. You can find them everywhere. Number four, focused attention meditation. Now, this is the one that I practice. This form involves placing your focus on a particular stimulus or object. It can be a sensation or a sound either inside or outside of your body. An example of inside your body would be listening to your heartbeat or the natural buzz that's usually in your ear. An example of outside your body would be listening to an air compressor or running water, rain, the ticking of a clock, ocean waves, or any kind of white noise. Or you can focus on a visual object. The goal is to focus all or as much of your attention as possible on a single sensation or object. Now, something that he didn't mention here, but that is closely related to this that I personally practice a lot, is lighting some incense or a bundle of sage and then just watching the smoke. Other people do this with a candle flame. You focus on the flame or on the smoke and the patterns it's creating as it rises up, and you just kind of lose yourself for a few minutes. And the thing I like about using the incense is that it has a built-in time limit. It eventually burns down and the smoke disappears. So there's a definite ending point without having to set a timer. I do use a timer sometimes when I meditate, but for some reason that tends to make me feel anxious, and I'm always wanting to open one eye and see how much time is left, But when you're watching the smoke with the incense, for some reason that's just more calming to me. I don't have that temptation to wonder how much longer it's going to be. So also another method that was not mentioned here, but that would fall into this category, is watching geometric shapes. Sometimes on certain YouTube channels, or they even have apps specifically designed for this, they will have these kaleidoscopic shapes, that kind of move in and out that you can watch, and they are usually accompanied by music. So that's also something you can do. There is a specific music, a whole genre of music called meditation music. I love listening to those channels that have meditation music, as well as to the different hertz frequencies. So There are all kinds of different frequencies, and all hertz means that's how you measure it. Specifically, hertz is defined. The frequency of a sound wave refers to the number of cycles or vibrations per unit of time. The standard measure of frequency is called a hertz. 1 hertz equals 1 vibration per second. Audible sound sources to the human ear range from 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz. So if you look up on YouTube, there's all these different numbers of hertz, and they're, I don't know how they figured this out, but they say some are for healing, some are for love, some are for relaxation, some are for stress reducing, some are to make you calm, some are for, anyway. So there's all those that are great to listen to. And lastly, another form of this meditation is just by watching nature scenes. Now, this is why, you'll find this interesting, Miss Esther, this is why they often have fish tanks in doctor's offices, because just watching the fish swim has been known to lower your blood pressure. That's exactly what it does. So I love watching these videos of like jellyfish or anything that floats, like clouds or waves going in and out, just those nature scenes. Those are very, very, very anything that pulsates or moves slowly is good for this. So again, this type is my preferred method of meditation. That's where my foot fits. So that is mostly the kind of meditation I practice. One of the benefits of focused attention meditation is that it activates a part of the brain that awareness meditation does not. And this is the part that helps us to overcome impulses and solve problems. So it is good for things like helping you break a habit or an addiction, or if you want to increase your level of concentration either in school or on the job. All right, so that's number 4. Number 5, mantra meditation. This is also known as chanting and can be done with music, or it doesn't have to have music. This form focuses on repeating a phrase or series of phrases over and over. A good example of this that we should all know about from our services is the Om Mani Padme Om. Okay, so now you can just say that over and over, or you can sing it in a melody. But the reason, repetition is very important, which is a lot of the reason why I do the same. I've started doing the same morning blessing every single week, because the more you say it, the more it gets in there into your subconscious. It says you can choose one of the many like this, Om Mani Padme Om, that already exist in the Buddhist as well as the Hindu tradition, or you can create your own. If you create your own, he suggests that it's better to word them positively than negatively. For example, I am calm is better than I do not worry. Now, let me stop here and say that there is a lot of power in I am statements. That in itself is a powerful meditation. I've noticed that my cousin, Bishop General Swilly, has started a little practice when he does his own online services. He always opens by saying these I am statements, and everyone who's listening online kind of joins in the comment section of theirs. And the way he does it is by this slow progression in thought. For instance, he'll say, I have health. I am healthy. I am health. I am. Okay? So that just shows the progression, the evolution in thought in actual frequency from having something to becoming something and finally ending in the ultimate God frequency of I am. It's also the song we sing around here that Chris wrote, the I am God. First, it's like, God is love, but then I am love. That's what you're doing is you're going from this frequency up here to this one. The benefits of mantra meditation are that the intensity builds with the repetition. You are literally saturating your consciousness with a specific thought or idea, and saying it out loud just adds to the vibration aspect of it. Mantra meditation can help you if you feel the need to reprogram the way you think or feel about yourself or a particular situation. Some more examples are, my life is full of joy, or I can achieve anything I put my mind to. Mantra meditation is especially helpful for those who have beliefs about themselves they feel are holding them back, because it allows you to pinpoint a specific issue or problem and reverse or improve it. Okay, number 6, Prana Yama meditation. This is also known as breath control meditation. It is all about controlling the pace of your breathing and is often taught in the form of the 4-4-4-4 box method, which means you breathe in while you're counting to 4, then you hold your breath for 4 counts, then you exhale for 4 counts, then before you take another breath, you count to 4 before you inhale again. This form of meditation is best known for its calming benefits. It has been shown also to lower blood pressure significantly and reduce stress, as well as help you fall asleep. This form of meditation is excellent for people with high stress or who are prone to panic attacks and generalized anxiety issues. So that's number 6. Lastly, number 7, moving meditation, which is obviously just like it sounds, when you are completely focused on some form of physical movement, whether it's walking, performing a chore or household task, or something more formal like yoga or Tai Chi. Even dancing can be used as a form of moving meditation. The main benefit of this type of meditation is that it teaches you how to enter the flow state. If you find it especially difficult to sit still, this might be the best form of meditation for you. All right, so that's Meditation 101. I hope I've been able to demystify it for you a little, and that it's a little less intimidating now if you were finding it intimidating or confusing. The most important thing to keep in mind is that if you want your life to be a dance, which I think most of us do, then you've got to learn to put your foot where you feel the fit. And once you master that, it's all downhill. It's all downstream from there. You are in the flow, which is always the best place to be. Amen?
Get in where you fit in. Wow, what an amazing teaching and introduction into meditation. I will share a little bit of joy with you. A couple stories, and then we'll close. I went to speak at a New Thought center in somewhere in the United States some years ago, and I was a little bit new to some of the expression, and I'm sure they were a little bit new to some of mine. But I was sitting, waiting to go up to speak, and they took a moment to meditate, and those around me were specifically holding their hands a specific way. You know, you have to hold the hand like this. The body has to be a certain way. And I had been delivered from the rigidity of religion. You're not going to tell me when to pray. You're not going to tell me how to read the Bible, what name to call God. I'm not going back. I've been delivered from the religious bondage. I'm not going back to Egypt. And so the woman sitting beside me said, "You're not holding your hands right." And I was like, let me tell you, I ain't going back I'm not going to your religion and your meditation center. You're not going to tell me. My sister laughs at me. She bought me these meditation DVDs years ago. And I have a disease. It's not severe, but it's called Osgood-Schlatters, if you're familiar with that. My knees don't. Well, if you look at me in shorts, it looks like I have 4 different kneecaps. I just have really big shin bones. And so it makes it difficult for me to be flexible in a certain way. So I can't even get into the meditation pose. But that's not the important thing. Okay? The important thing is not, watch this, the literal interpretations of the Bible or the rigidity of meditation. That is the important thing, is the intent of your heart. I want to quiet. I want to be still. I want to free my mind of all of these negative thoughts. I have discovered in Thich Nhat Hanh the way that I can meditate. LaDonna presented a lot of options for you today, how to meditate. Thich Nhat Hanh actually kind of popularized this idea of a walking meditation. And so he would go out into a forest, a street, it didn't matter where he was, and he would just very purposefully walk. And he would meditate as he was walking. It ended up, if you've seen the movie Forrest Gump, like Thich Nhat Hanh was like the Forrest Gump, like everybody, I'm going with him, I'm running too, and why are we running? I don't know, I'm just following him, you know. But he would be walking, thousands of people would be walking with him, in France and in London, just meditating behind him. And he didn't give a lot of instruction. It was just everybody just felt that vibration, resonated with it. And so I've made me a little playlist of beautiful music. And I do a lot of my meditation, not sitting, not trying to make my knees bend a certain way, not trying to make my sister happy. I just walk and I meditate. And so there is no one right way to do it. And so find the way that fits for you. I did want to share a little bit of joy, and then we'll give some shouts out real quick. This morning in my one of my classes, we were having to read some very explicit poetry. And these were citizens of India. And if you're familiar with India and Hinduism, one of the most despicable parts of that culture is the caste system. And we have it too. America has its caste. All countries have this crazy caste system. But in India, the poetry was coming from the untouchables, or the lowest of the caste. And so as Malcolm X, as Dr. King was to America, Dr. Ambedkar was in India. And he's encouraging these poets to write about their anger, their outrage. And so they are letting it fly in this poetry. And if I said some of the words, Sergeant Major back there would be like, D.E., you are not instructing some Marines in here. You need to watch your language. And so sometimes I slip up and cuss on Sunday, but they're little ones, little bitty ones. These were the biggest cuss words you can ever imagine being said in this poetry. And so each student was having to take a turn to read. And so my professor was like, look, if I call on you to read and you don't want to read the big cuss words, just bleep over it and just keep reading. And so my office here is next to Diane Patterson. And I was just waiting. I bet you won't call on me to read. I'm going to let it fly. And I'm gonna see Diane going into Esther's office going, D.E. was in his office. You won't believe what he was saying this morning. But they didn't call on me to read. And when they did call on me, all the big words had already been said. So I didn't get to say one. I wanted the joy of the Lord this morning, LaDonna, but I didn't get to do it. So when we dismiss, I'm gonna let it all out on the. Let me read to you what we read this morning. Anyway, we love you guys. Hopefully you had some joy this morning. And I've learned this, that watch this, religion is made for man. Man is not made for religion. Connect to God the way that you connect. And that, for me, is in a multiplicity of ways, primarily through Jesus and the Gospels, but also through many ways. Meditation is a way that we connect to God. And so don't ever let anybody put you into their box. All right, a couple shouts out before we leave this morning. Miss Rosaline. Hey, Dad, Pastor Don, Emma, Bobby Moore, Sherby, Ben, and Vicky. Have we sang Call Ben Up in a while? Call Ben up and tell him what you want. Call Ben up. Miss Terry, Callie, Doreen, Sheila, Lucy, Annette, yay. Alita, Laverne, Kessa, Pastor Gloria, Megan, Carla, Richard, Elaine, Sheila, Lee Einstein, Josephine, David Loftus. There are more names as well that we couldn't retrieve today. But if we missed your name, we love you guys. Hope you have a great week. Look forward to connecting with you again tomorrow night at 7 p.m. for The Power of Now. Go in peace. May God bless you.